right, pencils down. It is 4 p.m. The trade deadline is over. Oh boy, what a trade deadline this was. One of the most wild trade deadlines in recent memory that I can remember. Lots of big names being moved. 10 All-Stars total so far traded. It's 4/4/15 right now as we're recording this. Trades are still trickling in, but pretty much the big moves are done. If anything big still happens, I will still talk about it as I have Twitter pulled up right here. So let's go trade by trade, team by team, talk about all the moves that happened this deadline. So I'm going to start with my hometown team. I know I'm wearing a Mariners shirt, but my team is the Washington Nationals. Nationals, probably definitely the most active team this deadline. Completely fire sale. Traded everyone. They traded Scherzer, they traded Turner, they traded Schwarber, they traded Yan Gomes, they traded Josh Harrison, they traded John Lester, they traded Brad Hand, they traded Daniel Hudson. 8 members of the team gone from the Nationals. Let's go through those trades right now. The first and the biggest trade that they made was Max Scherzer and Trey Turner to the Dodgers for 4 prospects, including top prospect Keibert Ruiz and Josiah Gray from the Dodgers, as well as 2 other prospects. The Nationals, in 2019, when they won the World Series, they were the oldest team in baseball. And so to me, it's not surprising to see 2 years removed from that World Series, the Nationals needed to rebuild. I understand that. But is this package enough for your Hall of Fame, the first player who's going to go in the Hall of Fame as a National, Max Scherzer, and your All-Star Trey Turner, who has put up 4 wins this year? I'm not sure. Josiah Gray is a guy who's very, very close to Major League ready for the Nats, as well as Keibert Ruiz. Those are guys who can impact the team next year. Even this year, if you want to call them up. They've already 2 guys who've already been called up for their teams, and they're guys who can make an impact right now. Then you got 2 other prospects from that trade, guys who are not mean as much. The other trades the Nats made, the trade for Daniel Hudson, they got a hard throwing reliever from the Padres. They got a 4th outfielder, Lane Thomas from the Cardinals for John Lester. They got a lot of catching prospects actually. Got a catching prospect from the A's, and they got a catching prospect from the Blue Jays. I like their deadline. I don't love it. That's kind of where I stand for the Nats. On the flip side, let's talk about the Dodgers, what they got for Scherzer and Turner. This makes them the World Series favorite. It has to. You get a Cy Young winner, a 2-time Cy Young winner in Max Scherzer to complement Clayton Kershaw, who's coming back tonight or very, very soon. Turner, currently on the COVID IL, will join the team probably about 8 days, 7 days. So he won't be on the team this week, but he'll be back next week. But that lineup with Will Smith, Max Muncy, Corey Seager, Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Mookie Betts. Your all-star Chris Taylor becomes a bench player. That's unreal, absolutely unreal. I don't know how a team can really compete with that. You can't win at the trade deadline, quote unquote, but you can certainly help your team win. And the Dodgers have set themselves up to repeat as World Series champions. I'm not saying they're going to win it all. We'll see what happens in October. Injuries, whatnot. Scherzer maybe not be 100%. I mean, he looked great in his last start for the Nats. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, Kyle Schwarber to the Red Sox. I like the trade for the Sox. However, it's not. I don't think the Red Sox did enough. They got Kyle Schwarber and they got Hansel Robles to help their bullpen. They certainly could have done more to compete in a very competitive division. So let's talk a little bit about that division. The Yankees, one of the biggest trade deadline winners, I would say, from this deadline. Joey Gallo from the Rangers. They got Anthony Rizzo from the Cubs, and they got Andrew Heaney from the Angels. The Gallo trade I absolutely love for the Yankees. I am a big Joey Gallo fan. I think his strikeout rate is high and his average is low. However, he has a high on-base percentage guy with a lot of power, and especially to right field as a lefty hitter. He will do fantastic at Yankee Stadium, playing there for a year and a half. I think it's a great acquisition for the Yankees. He's also very, very underrated defensively, right fielder. And I think he will play very well in that outfield. You pair him with Judge, you pair him with Stanton in that lineup. I mean, the power in that lineup is unbridled. Then you add another high on-base percentage guy in Anthony Rizzo, who is still a very, very useful player. Unfortunately, this means that Luke Voit has nowhere to play anymore. Yankees fans I know love Luke Voit. But Anthony Rizzo is a much better defender than Luke Voit. and can do a lot more for the Yankees than Luke Voit can. I would like the Yankees have done a little bit more with their rotation. Andrew Heaney has a high ERA of around 5.50 this year, but his peripherals are better than that. In terms of his production, I think he's better than his numbers are. He's a guy who's been up and down his whole career, so I'm not entirely sold on the trade for the Yankees on that. They could have added more of the rotation, but they probably did the most in their division to help them the most. Will they win the division? I don't think so. I think the Red Sox and the Rays have too much of a lead. But let's talk a little bit about the Rays. They made also a big trade. I think every team made a trade. It really seems like that. It seems like no team didn't do anything. Made an early trade about a week ago, trading for Nelson Cruz, which is a big bat to get. They also traded away Rich Hill, which I hate that trade for them. The Rays, whenever they do one thing right, they do two things wrong. They traded away Diego Castillo to the Mariners and traded away Rich Hill to the Mets while adding Nelson Cruz. The Rays can never be content with being better. They have to be smarter than everyone else, so that means when they get better, they also have to get worse to just show we can keep our payroll low and still win. Nelson Cruz, though, is a great acquisition. The ageless wonder Nelson Cruz, still putting up great numbers this year. I love the ad for the Rays, a team that had middling offense, outside of Andrew Meadows, Austin Meadows, and Joey Wendell. They definitely could have used a power boost, and they got that in Nelson Cruz. Really one of their first true sluggers that they've had in a very long time. Also with Randy Arozarena as well on that team. So very excited for that trade for the Rays. I think it's a great fit for them. Is it enough to pass the Red Sox? I don't think so. I think the Red Sox still win that division. But another team in that division also made a very big trade today. They made a couple trades, trading for Brad Hand yesterday, and then today trading for Jose Barrios from the Twins for two of their top prospects, most notably Austin Martin, who is the top 15 prospect in baseball, a shortstop outfielder, going to the Twins. Barrios is a guy who is like a 1-2 starter from a lot of teams. He'll slide into that spot with the Blue Jays this year. I think it's a good get for a team that needed pitching, a lot of pitching. Getting Hand and getting Barrios, that definitely solidifies the Blue Jays' chance. I think they could pass the Yankees still, even though I said I liked what the Yankees did. I think the Blue Jays have a great offense, just like the Yankees do. I think the rotations are comparable now too with Barrios. I mean, the Yankees still have Garrett Cole, who's still been good this year, and the Yankees probably have a little bit, probably equal bullpen. So we'll see what happens with that. I think the Blue Jays did a good job getting Barrios. I like Barrios. However, the package they gave up was huge. Now, if you're comparing apples to oranges here, you look at the package that the Blue Jays got for Barrios. Meanwhile, what the Nats got, what the Blue Jays gave up for Barrios. Meanwhile, what the Dodgers gave up for Scherzer and Turner. That's where I get a little wishy-washy with the Nats, what they got when they returned for that. Simeon Woods Richardson for the Blue Jays was like a 65 ranked prospect. So very, very comparable 1-to-1 trade. And the Nats also got two more prospects in the trade, but those are more, as Blake Snell says, slapdick prospects. Nothing really great there. As a Nats fan, the trade didn't sit well with me, looking at what the Twins were able to get for a year and a half of Barrios versus what the Nats were able to get for 2 years combined for a year and a half of Turner and a half a year of Scherzer. Not a huge fan there. Let's talk about another one of the big sellers this trade deadline. We talked a little bit about the Cubs and Anthony Rizzo. They also traded Chris Bryant, and they also traded Javi Baez. Chris Bryant heading to San Francisco. They traded Anthony Rizzo, Craig Kimbrell, Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, and Jake Marisnick, all to different teams. I think the Cubs did well for themselves this deadline. The package they got for Rizzo is like pretty good. I'd say the package they got for Craig Kimbrell blew me away. I think that's probably the best trade of either the Twins with the return for Barrios, or what the Cubs got for Bryant. For Kimbrell. Those were the two best trades in terms of returns for teams. Getting Nick Madrigal, who was a top prospect for the White Sox just 2 years ago, who was a great second baseman, who the White Sox really considered a cornerstone of their rebuild, really was a great move for them. In terms of what else they got for Bryant, was still coming in, but I love this trade for the Giants. I think you see what the Dodgers do in getting Scherzer and Turner, and you get one of the next best options out there in getting Chris Bryant. He's a huge difference maker. I wonder will they play him with Longoria playing third still when he comes back. I know he's been hurt for most of the year. Bryant is one of those guys you can really stick anywhere, and he can play pretty well. I imagine he might be playing center field for them, at least a little bit. Kind of a tough day for a lot of teams, for Cubs fans. This was really the core of a franchise that was supposed to be, a perennial World Series contender. They got their one World Series, and then every year after kept getting worse and worse. Bad ownership by the Ricketts on not wanting to keep adding and taking half measures. The Cubs this year, they were in first place by 2 games, and then they lost 11 straight. They could have done more. If they don't trade Yu Darvish this offseason, the Cubs could have contended and could have been a better team. Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez all went in the last day. And that's just a sad feat, a sad reminder of how quickly things can end for a great franchise, or what was supposed to be a great franchise. And speaking of sad reminders for the Cubs, talk a little bit about this trade. Jon Lester heading to the Cardinals, which must be a heartbreaker for Cubs fans everywhere, having to see one of your favorite players going to a division rival, not just any division rival, but the Cardinals. I'm honestly, props to Mike Rizzo for getting something. They got Lane Thomas, a 4th outfielder from the Cardinals. I'm happy with that trade. Jon Lester looked kind of washed, looked kind of cooked. So we'll see what he has left. The Cubs also got J.A. Happ in a commitment to try to get older and older. With Adam Wainwright, Jon Lester, and J.A. Happ, I think they now probably have the oldest rotation in baseball. So we'll see what happens with that team. They're not catching up to the Brewers, who also made a couple of sneaky trades. Brewers probably won the trade deadline only because they made a trade 2 months ago that has completely changed their franchise. Brewers got Willy Adames from the Rays about 2 months ago, and that really helped turn around their team. Brewers also got relief pitching help in terms of John Curtis from the Marlins, who has been really, really solid for them this year. They got Cesar Hernandez from the Indians, who's another really solid pickup for them, help fill out their team. I wonder what that means for Colton Wong, who I have on my fantasy team. Kind of upset about that, but Cesar Hernandez is a guy who can play third base, second base. You can kind of slot him all over in the infield. They also got Eduardo Escobar to play third base for them, and really shoring up their team that way. I think the Brewers are the team to beat in the NL Central. They got a great rotation, they got a great bullpen, and now they really shored up their lineup. They are the team to beat in the NL Central, and I'm gonna say one of the sneakier teams to maybe put together a run in the playoffs. So we'll look out for the Milwaukee Brewers this postseason. Javi Baez going to the Mets. It sure is an interesting trade. I like the trade for the Mets. Definitely a guy who helps your team, obviously. Has a 108 OPS this year. Scary numbers, though. 131 strikeouts compared to 15 walks. Javi Baez is not nearly the MVP candidate that he was a couple years ago. His numbers have kept slipping and slipping since then. Great defender. He'll be playing a lot of second base for them as Lindor plays shortstop. Love the up-the-middle duo for them now. The PR up-the-middle duo for Lindor and Baez. Puerto Rico connection right there. Cool combo. So it's going to be interesting to see when Lindor comes back how those two operate together, because they're really good friends. Baez said a week ago that he wanted to play in New York. He got his wish, going with Trevor Williams over to New York for the Mets' first-round pick last year. Who was the Mets' 5th prospect as well. Some more trades bleeding in right now, post-deadline, post-4 o'clock. We have the Braves piling up the outfielders. They already acquired Jock Peterson. They acquired Adam Duvall. They acquired Eddie Rosario. Now they got Jorge Soler, too. There are 3 outfield spots for 4 guys they got. I don't really know what the Braves are doing. Just getting as many outfielders as they can. Soler's been down since his 2019 season. He's a guy who really suffered because of the pandemic season last year, and he just hasn't looked right since. Soler is hitting 192 with only 13 home runs, far removed from his 2019 season when he led the league in 48 home runs. Braves also shoring up their bullpen, getting Richard Rodriguez from the Pirates. Rodriguez is a guy who kind of scares me a little bit because ever since the sticky stuff got cracked down, his spin rate dropped. So we'll see what happens with him for the rest of the season. Good get for the Braves, getting another back-end reliever, but I'm not sold on him being, a really difference maker. The Braves got a lot of guys, but they didn't really get anyone that jumps out on the page for you. No one like a Javi Baez, or even, moving on to the Phillies. Phillies getting Kyle Gibson is a big move for them. Help shore up the rotation. Giving up Spencer Howard, though, is a big give up. I've watched Howard. I'm not sold on Spencer Howard as a major league starter yet, but he certainly is a big name to give up for Kyle Gibson, who was an all-star this year. I will say that, but definitely not a top-line guy that's necessarily worth the big name prospect that you gave up. Howard's no longer that big name prospect, but he was as recently as 2 years ago. So a little iffy on that trade as well for the Phillies. Phillies also reacquiring Freddie Galvis, as they haven't been loving what they've gotten from Gregorius, who's been hurt for a lot of the year as well. Definitely helps them better than Ronald Torreyes. Sorry, Yankees fans out there at shortstop. So a decent get for the Phillies. I like Freddie Galvis. I think he's always a pretty solid player, puts together good at-bats. And so, yeah, not a bad trade there for the Phillies. I also got Ian Kennedy in that trade with the Rangers. Again, that's fine. Nothing really much there. Another trade coming through right now. Boston Red Sox are trading Michael Chavis to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Austin Davis. Bryce Wilson. Playoff hero Bryce Wilson is heading to the Pirates for Richard Rodriguez. Not a bad get. Not a bad get for the Pirates. Looked really good that one playoff game last year. That's all I remember him from. I'm going to say one of the biggest losers of the deadline is the San Diego Padres. You go out there and you watch the Giants make a huge move and you watch the Dodgers make a big move, and the only thing you get is an all-star, Adam Frazier, but doesn't really help shore up your rotation. And that's where the Padres needed help with. Frazier is a good guy to get for the Padres. Don't really see how he fits in, as you have like three players who kind of fit the role of Adam Frazier, with Kim and Profar already on the team. So interesting fit with the team. They'll find a place for him somewhere, but the Padres should have done more. They could have done more, and now I think it's going to come back to hurt them. They're already sitting in third place in the NL West, and that's, I think, where they'll finish in the division. Still good enough for a wild card spot, however, but definitely could have done more to push them ahead. They should have gotten Scherzer. They should have gotten Scherzer. That's really it. They should have tried to get Scherzer. Getting Scherzer would have made them, I think, the World Series favorite, or at least the NL favorite. Would have pushed them ahead of the Dodgers. But they couldn't put it together. Couldn't put together a good enough package to surpass the Dodgers. The A's made a move a couple days ago as well, trading Starlin Marte for Jesus Luzardo. I love the deal for both sides. Marte going to the A's for half a season of Marte. Marte is a very solid player. He has his limitations, but a very solid add to that A's lineup. I think he'll do very well for them. And then Luzardo going back to the Marlins. Luzardo, still very young. He broke his hand or something playing video games months ago. He's been in AAA and not looked great this year. But he's a guy with a lot of great stuff, who I think in the right system will put it all together. Far removed from the prospect he was when the Nats traded him a couple years ago to get Sean Doolittle and Ryan Madson, but still a very good prospect to get back for half a season of Starlin Marte. Another team that definitely was a loser staying in the NL West is the Colorado Rockies. They were unable to move Trevor Story today. Seeing what the Nats got for Trey Turner, I am not surprised they didn't move Story. I think they may be better off just holding on again the compensatory pick, the qualifying offer to Story, offering a qualifying offer to Story and getting a pick back. But it's a shame that they weren't able to move Trevor Story, a guy who at the beginning of the season everyone thought was good as gone. Story having a down year this year compared to his last couple of years. Definitely could have netted a bigger haul, could have netted something, but not that big of a haul compared to maybe a top 100 prospect, probably two top 150, 200, top 200 prospects, but nothing more than that. Another trade that happened that was kind of under the radar trade. Kendall Graveman to the Astros. More of my Mariners shirt. What are the Mariners doing? Jerry DiPoto said this move is to preface a lot of things to come. And what did they get? They got Tyler Anderson from the Pirates. That's it. And they got Diego Castillo to replace it. Kendall Graveman is not a good pitcher outside of this 1 year. But how do you go to your team that's contending, that was a one game out of a playoff spot, and say, oh, we're going to make some moves, and then get Abraham Toro as your biggest deadline acquisition and Tyler Anderson? Yeah, the Mariners are definitely a loser as well. Astros could have done a little bit more. I'd still say they're my favorite to win the AL, win the AL this year. The White Sox had a good deadline. The White Sox bullpen will be lights out this postseason. Liam Hendricks and Craig Kimbrell are two of the three best relievers in baseball. Having those at your back end, I don't know who closes for you or who pitches the eighth inning, but it really will be interesting to watch what happens there. I think another winner, I said this before, the Twins. I love the package that they got for Barrios. I think it was a really good get for them. I think they're definitely on a rebuilding schedule now, obviously. This was a very, very disappointing season for a team that has been a playoff team for the past couple of years. Big step back for the team, but they made necessary moves to kind of retool. I don't know if it's really a retool. I think they'll be really active this offseason, trading away Donaldson and trading away Barrios. But not Barrios, I'm sorry. Trading away Donaldson and trading away Buxton. They definitely took the first steps to rebuilding that team. And yeah, I think that's it for me. I think I've talked long enough. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed my trade deadline analysis. Crazy, crazy, crazy day of trades here in baseball. Very exciting day. And we'll see what happens in the rest of the season. So that's all you have from me. And that's all. I'm signing off. Let's go watch some baseball.